Welcome back. You're now watching the lifestyle segment on the Weekend Show brought to you by Holocrunch Popcorn. Hello, Didi.
Hello, Andy.
Good to have you back.
Good to be back.
How was your time off?
It was restful.
You seem rested. Talking about being restful and rested, inflation rate in Nigeria has increased to 24.08%, which is a rise over the last 6 months, and it's been a consistent rise. The reason why this is quite interesting for me is that I realize that we've now had so many lifestyle changes, knowingly and unknowingly. Yes, we remember the president saying, let the poor breathe. But I realize it's not just the poor people, it's affecting everybody.
Everyone.
And what made me interested in this topic was the fact that I went to some ShopRite, so no free PR. I went to ShopRite to get dishwashing liquid. And usually there's that green brand everybody always just gets by default. And for once I found out that I saw the price of the one which we all know. And I saw a new one which was nameless. I didn't know the name, it's brand new in the market. But I picked that up because it made more economic sense for me. In the past, when you buy certain items, say you want to buy rice, for people like us who are married, instead of getting 5, you could get 5 kg before, maybe a bag. Now you see yourself getting 2 kg. And if the supposed middle class, and this is even coming from a place of privilege, we're now adjusting our lifestyle. Did you see the video of that girl crying about Lagos
I
State
saw it
University?
about the school fees.
And that really did touch me. So this cane is flogging everybody.
Everyone.
What have
Because
been your experiences?
Well, personally, my number one issue I'm always saying on the show is
Fuel.
fuel. It's fuel. I can't stop talking about it because I'm the type of person that every weekend I fill up my tank, my car tank. But I don't know the last time I filled my
You know
tank.
what?
I cannot remember.
Since the president was inaugurated, I've not filled my tank.
There you have it.
Over 3 months. I'm not even lying. Last week I spent 36,000 naira on fuel, and I don't even go out as much. And so that's the reality. However, we have some brilliant Nigerians with us who would tell us about their experiences and how we could actually survive through it. Because whether we like it or not, there's a financial downturn in the world globally, which is affecting everybody. And Nigeria has a lot of buckling up to do, especially because we know our financial state and we can't really rely on government and fuel anymore. So we'll look into that topic and see how it's affecting people and the way forward.
Yes,
Joining us
we have Abiola Oparinde, who is a brand management and consumer behavior expert. And we have Honorable Edet Douglas, who is AMAC chairman aspirant for Labour Party. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Welcome to the weekend.
You guys were laughing when we were talking. So I want to know, how has this economy hit you?
Well, it's not just hitting, but I think it's more or less like pressing everyone down because it was more like a jolt. You know, naturally, for some years back, when you have issues of maybe changing policies, you find Nigerians just trying to adapt. But this one has become a case of not just adapting, but how do you survive? And for me, it's been crazy because you move from the point where, for example, you mentioned the fuel, and so I would normally do filling of my tank for about 11,000. And then the last time I checked, it was about 44,000. And I'm saying to myself, how do I go from spending about 40,000 in a month to 200,000 in 1 month? That is crazy. And if I am complaining about that, what about the people who are not even earning as much as I am? So when Andy was talking about going to the mall to pick up items, generally consumers are beginning to look, shoppers generally are beginning to look for substitutes. No one is about show off now. So you go in and you ask yourself, look, if I've been getting this for 5,000 and right now it's going for maybe 11,000 or 12,000, what is the closest substitute that will give me the same value without me breaking the bank? And that's the craziest thing that's happening now. And then the search for substitute and even the fear of not ending up in the hands of fake or adulterated product is also that crazy. But as we always say in Nigeria, we will keep surviving. We'll keep surviving. That's how crazy it is.
Honorable.
Well, we come in at from the point of taxation. You see in FCT as a whole, or in Nigeria, like customs, like immigration, FIRS, every year they keep on increasing the tax. And the people, like a normal shop owner, find it very difficult to renew his rent, thereby affecting the masses I want government to come in and regulate the price of food items, staple foods, rice, normal rice, potatoes, beans. Let there be a fixed price so that the poor and the middle class can be able to afford it. Then I want government to give SME loan to the market women, because we talk about feeding. Without feeding, you cannot have the power to go out to hustle or to look for any other business. So I want government to release money, loan to the market women and regulate those prices. And in the issue of fuel, the transportation costs, they should have a fixed price, like from Yanya to Abuja, from Maraba to Area 1. Let there be a fixed price so that the people that are working in the private sector, like our secretaries, our computer analysts in the office, they can be able to afford those fare. Thereby, the salary that we give them will have value. We cannot be using 80,000 to fill tank. Then at the end of the day, what is coming in is 70,000 as a salary. So you cannot be able, you're automatically living in debt. So I want government to do something about it.
So the government will argue the following point, that one, they increased federal allocation, I think in July, and sent money to the states. And I say this because you're talking about regulating prices, which I
Yes.
think may come to the fore, because while government said, oh, let's give palliatives and all, most of the state governments had billions of money to share, and they went and started getting rice. What now happened was it led to the price of rice rising in the market because all the rice is being mopped up
Yeah.
by the states. And so that's the part, the human angle of that. For transportation, I see what Lagos is doing with the blue line. And so fixing our systems, or like even in Abuja, those BRT, those buses, which we called El-Rufai buses,
El-Rufai
bringing
buses.
it back and
They
making
should bring
it
it back.
cheaper could work. And then do we have to work 5 days a week? Maybe government officials should go to work 3 days a week. Because it's a huge problem. My first problem is we Nigerians. Once price of stuff go up, everybody wants to increase their money while we're still complaining.
Yeah.
Yes.
I needed to renew something yesterday, and I asked someone who works at the office, oh, what would this cost? And the person was like, for 3 years, it's 20,000 naira. For 5 years, it's 25,000 naira. And I was like, oh, I need to do a correction. The person says, oh, that's an extra 15,000 naira.
Wow.
And then I go online and check, and I see 3 years is like 12,000, and 5 years is 15,000 naira. And I was like, this person wanted to make 40,000 naira.
Yep.
Later, we will blame the government.
Yeah.
But talking about government, we import a lot. Peter Obi said this,
Yeah.
Atiku said this, and
Yeah.
Tinubu said this. When Tinubu was telling us about agriculture, President Tinubu were laughing about it. What do you think we as a nation we need to do? Because some of these things are fixes which we wouldn't get immediately
True.
and
True.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also the prices of and taxes, like you said, in the ports is extremely high. So even if you want to import stuff, you're paying twice that amount to get it clear.
Yeah.
What immediate steps do you think we as Nigerians should
Now,
take?
in the angle of local production,
Yeah.
I was so surprised that I went to Wuse too. I saw foreign bread. You can imagine, we are importing bread and those other ingredients for shawarma. Let government fund the local experts. Let's have a local production here. In terms of all these things, the government have a grain bank. I have not seen this grain bank with my eye. That will have the grain. They should release them in the appropriate. We are not saying they should give us free. Release it to the market and put the normal prices that me and you can be able to afford it, pay. If you can put these measures in place, it will drastically reduce poverty. You will see that, you see, a lot of crimes that are being committed is because of hunger. You create a lot of employment opportunities, both for youth, for women, for adults. But once there's an employment opportunity, people will have something doing for a living. So I urge government to employ, not by doing advert on the TV or a special person. You have your slot, you have your slot. I want the masses That is why I'm coming out to, I want to contest as an AMAC chairman. I'm aspiring for that position because I'm here in the FCT. I believe that I should be able to affect the people positively. So I want government to look into all these actual problems. Like the FCT minister that came in, he said he's tackling kidnapping. But it's not about only tackling kidnapping. What is making people to commit crime is hunger. So it should create industries. We can produce poultry farming, fish farming. We can do them in FCT. AMAC has 12 wards. It increased to Orozo, Kurudu, all those areas. They have vast areas of land. So government can establish an industry, thereby creating employment, thereby generating revenue. So if government can look into all these issues, I think that we will have a better FCT.
All right. I would like to look at it also from another angle, and that I think we have to look at, if we must get out of this, we have to look at it from the angle of backward integration. Because, oftentimes we talk about the need for us to start producing so that we can also generate all of these raw materials that we need. But it's also important to go back to the basic, which is if we must start producing, it means that the farmland must be secure. It has to be safe for the farmers to be able to go to their market. And interestingly, the Middle Belt, the Northwest, where we have majority of our food production, is plagued by insecurity. So there's a need for us as a people, government, the whole entire community, to be able to start saying to ourselves, what do we need to put in place? I grew up in the North. Nobody comes into our environment without us knowing. Almost immediately, people are saying, oh, somebody is in this place. We need to be involved in the security of our own communities. The government needs to step up. We need to go beyond just talking, saying we will look into this, we're setting up committees. No, we need to ensure that there is security for the farmers so that when they go onto the fields to farm, they are safe, we can produce. And then when we start producing, we need to ask ourselves, what do we do? Let's not just produce to eat. Let's produce to process so we can generate our raw materials. Why do we keep importing ethanol when we have cassava, when we can process them here and then offer them to the factories we have in the country to make use of them? So it's important. And then I think going back to what Honorable did mention earlier on is the ease of doing business in this country. Small and medium enterprises, you overburden them with tax. If this one is not popping up today, you hear them saying you have to pay for this advert, you have to pay for this signage, you have to pay for this, and then you're asking yourself, how will they survive? Yes, thankfully, the presidency did come up with a tax reform committee and stuff like that. Let's have one unified tax agency where if at all I have to pay tax, I know that I'm paying one person or paying one agency, and then I'm not burdened by different persons stroking you, asking you to pay tax. So for me, I think there's a need for us to look inwards and make things work for ourselves. What Peter Obi said is not abstract. It is the reality of what we have to do to get out of this. Once we start producing ourselves, when we go back to the basics of production, when that has to do with going back to the farm, producing ourselves. Look at just Plateau State, Naraguta Leather Works. They produce beautiful leather work. Why do I have to go to Italy to go and start importing leather shoes in the name of some class or some show-off thing? So I think for us, it's important that we look inwards, secure our nation, let small businesses grow, let them thrive by giving them the room to grow.
You both have made excellent points concerning what the government should do, but what can everyday individuals do, average people like you and I, what can we do to survive in this high cost of living?
One thing I've looked at for me, and which I think works, is that for individuals, we need to start asking ourselves, what are the things that you need that will actually make your life easy, not the things that you need to show off? Because at the end of the day, you ask yourselves, inflation is rising, but the income is not. And that's where the pressure is. So if the income is static and inflation is rising, what do I have to do? In terms of purchase, I have to look for what gives me value. Yes, having multiple streams of income is a basic, because that's the only way you can survive in a country like ours, where you're able to do almost everything and offer services or support in whatever way, and you get paid for it. But when it comes to spending, you have to save. But funny thing is that even the savings are beginning to lose value. So you can imagine what 1 million would do for you in January cannot do. 1 million is almost equivalent to 250,000 now. So even if you have the savings, it's about, if you're not saving in Forex, you're on your own. So first, we need to be able to prioritize. What do we need? What are the basics that we must have? And then we spend on them. And then if you must spend, maybe we need to start having this ideology of buying things in bulk, so that it reduces the impact of buying in bits on you as a household. And then you need to start asking ourselves again internally, like, look, do I need to do this? Do I need to do this? You need to prioritize. If I don't have to go out, like Andy was saying, you don't need to go out every day. If you must do some things, some businesses over the phone, why not do it over the phone? So we need to cut down on our frivolous spendings. We need to also ask ourselves, what are the things that are important that we must do? If it is not important, let's not do it. But most importantly, you need to be able to measure what your income is and what you can do. Let's not go borrowing, because that's going to keep plunging more people into poverty. And we need to be very careful as a nation, because we don't even know how soon we're going to be getting out of this. Yes, in the medium and short term, it doesn't look like it's something close. We're just hopeful that somewhere, somehow along the line, if we're able to adjust ourselves to the reality on ground, prioritize our spending, and save where the situation gives us opportunity, and begin to invest more. Probably you start looking at stocks that are likely to appreciate, and then offer more services. Make yourself available for everything. Get more income for yourselves, and then I think we'll get there.
I'll let you have the final word, but while you're making your addition, I know you also intend to run for the position of AMAC chairman in Abuja.
Yes.
And AMAC benefits from a lot of taxation, especially in this town, from commercial drivers to businesses and the likes. What do you plan to do different to reduce the suffering of the people?
Number one, we will cut down the levy, double taxation. You will find out that you will see a lot of boys on the road with uniform. Even if you're using your private Hilux, they will tell you, give me your paper, as if they are police. So we do it in a very corporate manner. Allocate that transaction to a particular body. Then I will have time, because I'm a young man, to go around town. If I move around town, I should be able to actually know how much. Because maybe from the office, for signage, like the doctor said, is 200,000. The people, they will come and say it's 300,000. So if I'm able to enter this office, I will make sure that we will reduce those levy and unnecessary and double taxation drastically. I assure you that that is one of my agenda. Then we'll talk about a mass housing scheme. You will find out that so many people in FCT up to today, some people have lived up to 20 years, they are still tenants. So we will generate a mass housing scheme through your statement of accounts for 1 year. The government or the bank should be able to know your capacity. If you're qualified for 2-bedroom flat, for 1-bedroom flat, then I will give you a long time. That is through Federal Mortgage Bank. Like 5 years, like 2 years, like 10 years. You actually inherit that house, it becomes your own, while you're paying small. In that manner, this issue of every year renewal of rent, it will end. The property automatically belongs to you. Then we'll open rooms for what we call JV, joint venture partnership, whereby if AMAC has a land, instead of having issues with FCD, we go into agreement. Then we'll get a developer that we partner with them and develop the place. There are a lot of court cases between FCT and AMAC because of land dispute issues. So if we can be able to resolve all those things, it will make the livelihood here very, very meaningful.
So what should the average Nigerian do to manage this?
What we should do at the moment, like doctor said earlier, you do what we call bulk purchase. Close eye, carry 200,000. Buy, especially rice, beans, all those food items, buy it in bulk. save it in your store, in your kitchen, then you will find out that you start eating it small, small. Don't do competition.
So
This is
me
not
that I
time for
like
competition.
3 meats now.
You that like 3 meats, you have to reduce from
It's
3
hard
meats to
though.
1.
It's problem
You
with the
understand?
finish. We need to enjoy.
We use
We
the
need to
common
eat
English.
small,
We have to
small.
cut our coat according to our sizes now.
See my size now.
This is not if before, like before, your children, they were going to expensive school, like you're paying 1.5 based on assumption. That is hypothesis. But now you can see the reality that 1.5 is no longer coming. What do? Remove them from 1.5 to 800, where you can comfortably pay for 2 or 3 children, instead of disturbing people. Some people, if they call for money, you don't even know whether that person has the money now or not. If the person doesn't pick your call, you become angry. You shouldn't be angry because there is nobody that has money now. Everybody is crying for money. So let's cut our coat according to our size.
Honorable Edith Abiola, I think this is a great place to leave it. Thank you so much for your
Thank you.
contributions and your comments. We do understand that this is affecting everybody in Nigeria, from the rich to the middle class and the poor. My own closing word on this is that we as Nigerians shouldn't take advantage of our fellow Nigerians. Because you have financial burdens doesn't mean you should put it on the next person or expect to rip off the other person. At the end of the day, we aren't different from the government who we constantly accuse. But yes, cut your coat according to your size. I've been told to reduce my meat from 3 to 1 on the lighter note. But same thing with name brands. I saw myself picking a brand I wouldn't have picked, and I ended up finding out, oh, I actually did like it. And so maybe we need to manage our taste while the country gets through this, and while we also learn financial management. Any final words from you?
I just need a fuel price to reduce. I'm not going to stop saying that. Something has to happen concerning that.
That's all we can have for this segment. We'll take a quick break. When we return, more on The Weekend Show.